My name's Andrew Dudley and this is Earth Live, a webcast featuring people working on the front lines of conservation. And today we're joined by a conservation hero, María Gonzalez, who's speaking to us from Bogota in Colombia. Hi Maria.
Hello Andrew, how are you?
I'm doing great, so welcome to Earth.
Thank you for the invitation.
So can you tell us what it is that you do?
Yes, I work for a regional environmental fund, which is called the Mesoamerican Reef Fund. And what we do is we drive conservation funding and partnerships for protection and sustainable use and restoration of the Mesoamerican Reef region, shared by 4 countries. From north to south, that is Mexico, Belize, Guatemala, and Honduras.
And when did you first realize that you were going to devote your career to conservation?
I think when I was studying at the university, but I've been interested in wildlife since I can remember.
And what is it you studied at university?
I studied biology.
Okay. And did that set you up for your career? Did you think at that stage you knew you were going to devote yourself to conservation, or?
Yes. I entered university thinking I was going to do genetics, and along the way it just became clear it was going to be conservation.
Okay. And when did you first start working for Marfund? How did that come along?
Marfund, actually this year, Marfund is celebrating its 15th year. It's our 15th year anniversary. And I began to get involved in the design of Marfund when I was working for a Guatemalan environmental fund.
Okay. And so you say you work across those 4 countries. What are the greatest challenges that when you're working kind of cross-border? I know Belize and Guatemala, for example, have some kind of historical challenges. How does that impact your work?
Yes, well, I think just working across the 4 countries, you're right, there are challenges. It's 4 different countries, 4 different legal systems. In this case, it's 2 languages along, in the region. However, there might be more benefits than challenges in working across the 4 countries. It's so interesting to see that you can actually, have collaboration across the borders, even if there are the legal issues like there is between Guatemala and Belize.
And so on a day-to-day basis, what is the kind of work that you do?
Let's see. Marfund has several programs, and through these programs we support protected areas, coastal and marine protected areas along the region. But we also have activities that focus on the threats that affect the region. And so on a day-to-day basis, we're supporting different priority protected areas in the MAR, in the different countries, or we are working, actually this is very exciting, and this is something that evolved from last night to now. A hurricane just passed, I don't know if you were aware, Delta just passed and hit Quintana Roo, and it affected several of its coral reefs in several of the protected areas. So last night I was speaking to the director of Puerto Morelos, which is a protected area in Quintana Roo, and she was telling us they're doing a lot of work with brigades to clean up the debris and cement those corals back so they have a better chance of recovering, but that they needed funding. So we're putting into effect our emergency fund. Through one of our programs, which is called the Reef Rescue, we have an emergency fund that's not big, and it's growing little by little, but now we're able, to actually put it to use. So we hope that in the next couple of days we can provide funding so she, the director of this protected area, can, continue working with brigades to get into the water and restore those reefs.
And from a climate perspective, what are the greatest risks facing the marine protected areas that you work to protect? Well,
the rising temperature of the water causes bleaching. For example, there's also acidification, and of course, the increase in the frequency and strength of storms or hurricanes. Those are some of the major risks that are climate related.
And as well as you speak about marine protected areas, but what about no-take zones? Do you set those up, and what is the difference between the 2?
Okay, so a no-take zone is an area, a territory on the water where no fishing, no extraction is allowed. And this is great because it allows not only the recovery of fisheries, but of the whole ecosystem. Now, no-take zones in the region have been mostly created within protected areas. And this is because in protected areas across the 4 countries, fishing is allowed. So although there are rules for carrying out this fishing, there is fishing. So actually, where you have recovery of the ecosystem and of those fisheries, and there is spillover, is in the no-take areas. So this is one of the activities we support quite a bit along the region, which is the creation of no-take zones and their management and monitoring. And of course, this varies from country to country, how they're set up legally, etc. But we support those that are actually requested by fishers on the ground. And they usually have support from local NGOs or protected area managers or other organizations, but it's actually coming from them, recognizing that they need to take action to recover their fisheries.
That's incredible. So they're not resisting the establishment of a no-take zone. They're actually requesting your support in setting that up.
Some are. Of course, there are some fishers that are resisting it. But unfortunately, they're requesting it when they realize they have overfished and that they have fewer resources.
And do you have examples of where no-take zones have been established historically and then that's brought the fish, back into the area where the fish stocks have recovered?
Yes, some areas are better at doing the monitoring than others, but there are some examples in Mexico, right, that have done great monitoring process, and you can see where there has been a very large recovery of fish biomass. That is what you're measuring after several years. And now we're trying to help the whole region actually standardize how they monitor. Just a couple of weeks ago, we had a series, 2 weeks ago and last week, with the experts, and here the experts for this are our partners in Mexico, one of our partners in Mexico. They organized 2 webinars just to tell other partners that have no-take zones and that operate in no-take zones how to monitor. And how can you compare that information from one site in one country to another?
So Maria, I was going to ask you about the new coral reef that you guys have discovered between Belize and Guatemala. How did that come about?
Okay, it wasn't us, right? One of our partners and the Guatemalan coordinator for the Healthy Reefs Initiative, and I'll tell you about this initiative in a bit, she was working with fishermen in Guatemala. And this was in 2013 or 14. And they told us about some rocks out in the sea. So she asked to be taken there. And when she went into the water, she said it was just amazing. It was this huge reef in very good and healthy condition. That was not in any chart. Nobody had spoken about it. Nobody knew about it. So since then, a lot has moved forward, and it's very exciting. This reef straddles Belize and Guatemala, and as we mentioned earlier, there is a border issue between both countries. But organizations working in both countries are working together to do joint management, let's say, of the reef. And the fantastic news is that both countries have now protected the reef. So we have, very new protected areas, and they're both protected as no-take zones. So I think this is very exciting. This reef has, for example, just so you have an idea, 60% live coral cover when the average for the region is around 20. So we're talking about an amazing reef, right? With big predators and just big fish and large numbers of fish and big sponges. So it's great. It's great to know that still today, given the circumstances, you have a reef like this to protect. So this is one of the heroes in the region, doing and the organizations that are actually carrying out and moving slowly towards actually protecting it on the ground. They're doing great work.
Amazing. And so do you work with mangrove restoration? And if so, could you tell us a bit about the importance of restoring mangroves?
We are beginning to support mangrove restoration. Just last year, with the Smithsonian Institution and with the support of the German Embassy in Guatemala and a CCAD project called Marridge to Reef, which is a GEF-funded project, we organized a regional workshop to bring together practitioners, experts from the 4 countries. And together, they provided all the inputs to create a regional strategy for mangrove conservation and restoration in the Mesoamerican Reef. So we are moving forward now to try to begin developing this strategy. One of the first things we'll be doing is supporting the development of a manual for restoration for the region. And this is being done jointly with the Cartagena Convention in UNEP and this GF Central America Commission on Environment and Development project. So I think this is very exciting to be creating tools so that the region operates, in sync regarding restoration. But we have funded other activities, protection of mangroves, measurements of blue carbon, for example, in Mexico have been carried out. We have supported those processes. So we are very interested in continuing to support mangrove restoration. They're very important. The trio or the triad of marine, coastal and marine ecosystems, corals, mangroves, and seagrasses are just key. And you cannot work one and not the other. They have to, be protected together.
And what would you say are the greatest challenges ahead for you as an organisation at Marfund?
Well, as a financial mechanism, I think the biggest challenge is continuing to secure funding for the activities that are carried out. We currently have a challenge grant that has been offered by Oak Foundation, and we think it's an amazing opportunity. Oak Foundation has said that they will commit $10 million for Belize in endowment funding if Marfund raises $15 million in endowment funding, most of which should go to Belize. So we have been, moving forward, making contacts, speaking to different potential donors, and it's a hard challenge. Raising funding for endowment funds is complicated. But this is such a unique opportunity, that we're willing to continue working on it. And so this is one opportunity, but again, just overall fundraising is complicated. And I think this is the largest challenge.
And can people donate to your organisation, like members of the public?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
They can donate by writing to us or through the website. There is a possibility to donate.
And so what are you most positive about then?
I think the fact that the region, even though it's 4 countries, it really operates as a region. So people are interconnected and they communicate and they share experiences and they ask for help from one to the other. I think that's what is most positive about it. There are many threats to the region, and we talked about the climate change threats, and they exacerbate the man-made threats. Contamination, sewage, solid waste contamination, and plastics, and coastal development that's just running wild, and overfishing. Right, all these threats are exacerbated by climate change, and they're there. However, I think, more and more countries are making steps or taking steps to confront them. There is a lot to go, a lot to do still. But I think it's positive, again, that the region works as a region. So you have these regional initiatives that provide scientific information on the state of the health of the reef, like the Healthy Reefs Initiative, which I think is unique to the Mesoamerican Reef. And they work regionally. The region has an amazing leadership program that is, creating human capital. The next generation that will be doing work to protect this region and its resources. So those are the exciting things.
And talking about the next generation, I was going to ask you, for an aspiring conservationist, for a young person, what advice would you give them?
I say that, to an aspiring conservationist in the Mesoamerican Reef that's in love with marine resources and just the sea and its resources, I think they have to push ahead. They have to. The one thing is, it is very hard to work alone, right? It may take a bit longer if you work with others and you bring others into what you're doing, but in the long run, that is going to be more sustainable. So I would tell people, just work with others, right? Create those relationships. See who else is interested in what you're doing, and or doing something similar. Just add to what you are doing.
And do you have a conservation hero, past or present, that's inspired your work?
There are many conservation heroes in the region, and actually, I feel honored that as a financial mechanism, we can help them do the amazing work they do. And there are many in all in the 4 countries. We have great heroes. One of them, for example, is, I mentioned earlier, the storm Delta that passed and just broke off the corals in Puerto Morelos. The director of that protected area, she is an amazing woman. She just is incredible, and the work she does is amazing. She inspires others. She is one of my heroes. But like her, there are heroes in the whole region. Heroes and heroines. Is that correct in English?
That's
a heroine?
Right. That's correct. Yeah, I should have
Yes.
said, do you have a favorite hero or heroine?
Yes.
Yeah, well, I tell you, we would love to have this lady join us on Earth Live as a conservation hero. We'd love to interview her and learn more about her work also.
I'll be happy to make the introduction. She's amazing, and I'll introduce you to at least one person from each country, but there are many.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And I guess, do you have any final remarks? Do you have any advice for people? What is the number one action people could take to protect the climate and the future?
I think that people can take actions to protect the ocean from where they are, and even if they're landlocked, right? The style of life you take is very important, and things as simple as just think before using single-use plastics, and how you save energy, and if you have a home, can you convert to solar energy? Just every action counts. And there are so many of us on the planet that if all of us really put our actions together, they really would move the needle. So I think you can do, even if you're not at the ocean and you're not there doing control and surveillance against illegal fishing, you can still do something, right? You can eat fish that is adequate when it is legal to eat it, for example. So as a consumer, you have a word to say on what you consume and how you consume it, and you can certainly take action from your home. You can also volunteer, right? You can yes, pack up your bags and go to the place and volunteer. That's also very important.
That's really sound advice, Maria. So thank you so much for joining us on Earth Live today, and thank you for the great work that you and your team are doing.
Thank you, Andrew.
Take care.
Hi, my name's Kirsty. If you enjoyed the content today and would like to watch more videos like this, please subscribe to our social media channels or join us at www.earth.live/join.